Weeks of terror attacks, violence on the Temple Mount, and now a rocket launched at southern Israel from Gaza. A wave of Palestinian strikes against the Jewish state is rising during the month of Ramadan.
Israelis struck back after yesterday's rocket attack, hitting a number of Hamas targets inside the Gaza Strip. This spike in violence has many concerned that Israel is on the brink of another war. Chris Mitchell reports from Jerusalem.
Israel's Iron Dome defense system knocked down the missile, and the military retaliated by taking out a Hamas weapons manufacturing site. While no group claimed responsibility for the rocket attack, Israel holds Hamas responsible for what happens inside Gaza. The confrontation follows weeks of terror attacks inside Israel that's left 14 dead, dozens wounded, and days of rioting on the Temple Mount. Israeli Prime Minister Naftali Bennett accused Hamas of inciting the violence.
There are those who are encouraging rock throwing and the use of violence against the citizens of the State of Israel. This is a reward for the inciters, especially Hamas, which are trying to ignite violence in Jerusalem.
Itamar Marcus of the Palestinian Media Watch told CBN News back in February, PA leaders called for popular resistance.
Now, what does that mean? That means that all the PLO leadership, all the PA leadership are calling for violence of individuals with knives, with guns, and especially focused on the Al-Aqsa Mosque. So this is coming from the top.
Marcus says Palestinian Authority leaders, like the top Islamic advisor to PA President Mahmoud Abbas, have called for religious violence during Ramadan. He said Ramadan is not a month of laziness, but rather a month of activity, of effort, and of hard work. And as it also was in the life of the Prophet, a month of jihad, conquest, and victory. For the first time in decades, the Muslim month of Ramadan, the Jewish Passover, and the Christian celebration of Easter have come at the same time. During Passover, Jews have been attacked in the Old City. Palestinians have thrown rocks at buses carrying Jews to the Western Wall and stockpiled stones on the Temple Mount, where the Al-Aqsa Mosque has been the epicenter of clashes with Israeli police. On the official PA TV prayer for Ramadan, an imam declared, "Allah, liberate the Al-Aqsa Mosque from the defilement of the evil Jews."
Palestinians are a very religious people. Ramadan is the most important month of the year. When Palestinians hear this, they feel that in order to be a good Muslims, they've got to attack Israelis, supposedly in defense of the Al-Aqsa Mosque. So this is all something that's happening from the top. Palestinians wouldn't be collecting stones if they weren't being directed from their leadership to do this.
Marcus says the West needs to know what's behind the current wave of violence. He says it's not a spontaneous uprising, but orchestrated violence by the Palestinian Authority. Gordon?
Well, Chris, tell us how Hamas and the Palestinian Authority are working together on these attacks.
Well, I think you could say, actually, in one sense, they are working together because they're both trying to commit violence against Jews. But on the other hand, Gordon, they're competing to see who can be more violent against Israel. They're rivals, and they're both trying to capture the hearts and minds of Palestinians. So they're both inciting terror against Israelis and Jews. You know, Gordon, in a normal country, leaders would be competing to see who could bring peace. But after years of incitement by the PA against Israel and the commitment by Hamas to destroy Israel, the way to become successful in the Palestinian world is to have more, not less, terror. And Hamas also, Gordon, represents a serious threat to the PA. In fact, if elections were held now, more Palestinians support Hamas. They would win in any election. And that's why there's actually been no Palestinian election since 2006. And that's why Palestinian President Mahmoud Abbas is actually in the 16th year of his 4-year term.
Are they actually going to declare elections? I mean, he's put it off and put it off, it seems like, forever. So are there actually going to be elections?
I doubt there will be anytime soon, Gordon. You know, last year there were supposed to be elections before the May war between Hamas and Israel. And Mahmoud Abbas actually called that off because he knew that Hamas would win those elections. He would be ousted as president, and Hamas would not only take over Gaza, but also Judea and Samaria, the West Bank.
Well, let's talk about the political ramifications for the current Israeli government. So could Bennett's coalition collapse under the violence, or would it actually be strengthened?
Actually, I think it could collapse, Gordon. And the reason is because the coalition really depends on one party. It's called Ra'am, a man named Mansour Abbas, who controls that party. He's part of the coalition, and his 4 seats, they're vital to keep the coalition from falling. So right now, after the defection of one member about 10 days ago of Bennett's coalition, the Knesset split 60-60. And so right now, the Islamic Council of the Muslim Brotherhood, and that sort of oversees Ra'am's party, they're deciding whether or not to bring down the government. Right now, Abbas says he's, quote, freezing his relationship with the government. And the problem for Abbas right now is that he's stuck between his religious obligation, his allegiance to the Al-Aqsa Mosque, and his allegiance to the current coalition government. If he has to make a choice, he's going to go with his Islamic commitment and to the Al-Aqsa Mosque.
All right, let's talk about the wider implications for the Middle East. So what do the nations that are part of the Abraham Accords, how are they reacting to the current violence?
Well, they're reacting by condemning Israel. And right now, just like Mansour Abbas, they're caught between what's happening here on the Al-Aqsa Mosque and what their commitment is to Israel. And so they're in their commitment to either Islam or Israel, they're going to have to go with Islam. And so what's happening right now is the Palestinian Authority, by fomenting this violence, is really creating or trying to create a wedge between Israel and these Arab Accord nations. And that's by design, because they see the Abraham Accords as something that threatens the Palestinian Authority. So what they want to do is that they want to have these countries, because of the violence, especially happening on the Temple Mount and the Al-Aqsa Mosque, they want these nations to condemn Israel and turn their backs on Israel. So that's what's part of what's plays happening in the geopolitics in the wider region, all happening here in Jerusalem.
Final question. At what point do the Muslims wake up that they're getting played? That there's no threat to the Al-Aqsa Mosque. Israel has recognized all the holy sites, whether they're Christian or Muslim, has never done anything other than that. And at what point are they going to recognize this is all a play on the religious sentiment, but there's no reality on the ground?
Well, Gordon, they've been told this incitement for years and years that the Al-Aqsa Mosque is in danger. And so even though we understand that there's really no threat, Israel wants to maintain the status quo on the Al-Aqsa Mosque. They don't want to take over the Temple Mount right now. But they have been told a whole different narrative. So when you look at the Palestinian media, when you look at what Hamas says, they're seeing a whole different story. They don't see necessarily themselves being played or lied to. They believe what's being told by them, by the Palestinian Authority. And that's why we see this violence, whether it's on the Temple Mount, the Al-Aqsa Mosque, or rockets coming out of Gaza. It's almost like a whole different version of reality. And you can also say, Gordon, it's almost like we've seen this movie before. We've seen the incitement and we see what's happening, on the ground, but the reality can be a whole lot different.
All right. Well, Chris, thanks for the report. My prayer, my hope is that the Palestinians will wake up from their nightmare and understand their leaders have been oppressing them and using them for decades. There's no reason for them to stay in refugee camps. There's no reason for them not to have a hope, have a future for their children and their grandchildren. They've been fed an ideology that is based on lies. In other news, no more federal mandate for masks on airplanes and other public transportation. Ephraim Graham has more on that story from the CBN Newsroom. Ephraim?
Gordon, a federal judge in Florida has ruled the federal travel mask mandate is unlawful, striking down the Center for Disease Control's requirement. CBN's Jenna Browder has more now from Washington.
The TSA and about half a dozen airlines say they're dropping the mandate. And as you might imagine, the news is being met with mixed reaction.
Masks now optional for employees, customers, following the White House.
Passengers on this Delta flight erupting into cheer. But in airports across the country, many are still choosing to mask up.
I think it's for our own protection because obviously COVID is still going around.
I think people are just so tired of wearing masks.
On Monday, a federal judge in Florida, appointed by former President Trump, struck down the travel mask mandate, claiming it exceeds the CDC's statutory authority. The White House confirming this means the mask order is no longer in effect on a federal level. It's now up to local authorities to enforce mandates.
This is obviously a disappointing decision. The CDC continues recommending wearing a mask in public transit.
The ruling could have a political impact on the Biden administration.
Now, coronavirus and handling coronavirus is something that a majority of voters believe that Biden is doing a good job on, but a small number of voters prioritize it, or a small number of voters view that as a top issue. A lot of the country has moved on.
Nathan Gonzalez, editor and publisher of Inside Elections on CBN's Faith Nation.
So when you get news like this that is mixed, I think it could potentially hurt President Biden and Democrats on an issue where he does have the more trust with the American people than he does on other issues.
And for now, the White House says it's reviewing the decision and has yet to announce whether or not it will make an appeal. In Washington, Jenna Browder, CBN News.
I want to update you now in the war on Ukraine. The Russian assault in the east appears to be underway. That is according to a U.S. defense official who says Moscow has sent an additional 11,000 troops to boost the effort. In the port city of Mariupol, the Russians reportedly are dropping bunker buster bombs on the steel plant where the city's defenders are holding out. Ukrainian authorities say civilians are also taking shelter there. Meanwhile, the first shipments of the recently approved $800 million in U.S. military aid is arriving in Ukraine. As the war enters a new phase, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky is telling civilians who fled the country not to try to return. Most of the more than 4 million refugees are in Poland. CBN's Operation Blessing is there on the border, waiting to serve those weary travelers.
As the war in Ukraine continues, each day thousands of refugees evacuate into Poland. Tamara and Tatiana, two Ukrainian mothers who met while escaping, recall how terrifying the war was when they left their hometowns.
There were lots of sirens, and we heard shots from neighboring cities. My husband told my son and me to pack and leave. He put us on the train, and we left.
It's scary when you walk on the street and a plane is flying very low right over you. Children always hiding in the basement. All of this is scary.
The journey to Poland was dangerous.
While we were driving, we were worried that there would be shelling.
People said the train before ours was shot at. We were afraid they would shoot at our train too.
When Tamara and Tatiana safely crossed the border, they were welcomed by an Operation Blessing team that partners with one of the local churches.
I was so surprised to see all the volunteers. Everyone cares about us and tries to help. They give candies to kids, food, something to drink, and even toys. And if people are cold, they give them warmth.
Thanks to the generosity of our partners, Operation Blessing is offering essential supplies, warm food, encouragement, and a moment of rest and safety for many Ukrainian families.
Thank you for helping people like this. People who ended up nowhere and without anything. It's a very big thing.
Thank you very much for all your support.
What a great relief they must feel to arrive and see that help waiting. Gordon?
And you can be a part of that great relief. You can be part of helping those refugees. How? Just give to the Operation Blessing Disaster Relief Fund. You can write to us at CBN Center, Virginia Beach, Virginia, 23463. Just put OB Disaster Relief Fund in the memo line of a check. You can text OB Crisis to 71777. Or you can go to cbn.com. You can also call us and say, I want to help the refugees. I want to give to the Disaster Relief Fund. Do it now. 1-800-700-7000. The Abraham Accords opened the door to friendly relations between Israel and several Gulf Arab states. This new dynamic could pave a way for peace between Christians, Muslims, and Jews beyond the Middle East. And that's one group in Texas is trying to make a reality. John Jessup shows us how.
For years, a phrase popular in Christian circles was, Christianity is not about a religion, but about a relationship. Imagine that concept and placing that premium on relationships, not just between God and people, but between people of different faiths. That's exactly what's happening right here in Texas, with sweeping impact made all the more striking in these polarized times.
This song says, living, he loved me.
This is not your typical Sunday service.
Dying, he saved me.
That's because it's not a worship service at all. Welcome to an unlikely forum on faith, bringing three of the world's major religions together under one roof.
I thought all Muslims wanted to kill me, and all Muslims were extremists, and all Muslims were bad people, and I found out I was wrong.
The goal, begin conversations, gain trust, and build relationships to solve problems big and small. This all evolved out of a friendship between an evangelical pastor and a Muslim cleric, sharing a desire to help religious leaders and their congregations see and treat each other as neighbors.
We want to stand for the religious freedom for everybody. We want to roll our sleeves to feed people in our community, to heal people who are sick, to bring understanding among our people. That's what it's all about.
For young people in attendance, that involved packing thousands of meals for area residents in need.
Everybody came in wanting to help and do something kind for the community, and so I think that united us all, and everybody was just here having fun and working.
One high-profile result of the movement came during January's attack at a North Dallas synagogue by a lone gunman.
The person we're most grateful for that came out of this was Rabbi Charlie Citron Walker. Come on, Charlie.
Pastor Roberts leveraged relationships with other faith leaders to bring calm to the hostage standoff and cement support across the faith spectrum.
In the aftermath of trauma, every message was an affirmation that our community was a part of the human family and that we're all in this together.
That message, endorsed by Trump, Biden, and Obama administration officials promoting religious freedom at a time when those freedoms are under attack and anti-Semitism is on the rise.
You can't address hatred against Jews without confronting hatred against all people. Every human being has a right to live with freedom in the peaceful practice of their religion.
A key driver in the multi-faith movement, support for a Muslim document called the Makkah Charter, promoting peace, denouncing terrorism, and advocating universal rights like religious freedom for all.
As a Jesus-loving evangelical, my goal is to say, hey, I'm grateful and excited that you're wanting to do this. I want to work with you because it has a huge impact on how Christians are treated all over the world.
Attendees, like this woman from Philadelphia, say highlighting our similarities is reassuring as America grows more divided.
When you focus on the things that you have that are more alike than different, you can have unity without uniformity.
While some see the effort as blending religious beliefs, organizers insist that's not the case.
This is about a deep relationship and commitment to friendship.
And it doesn't water down individual faiths.
It does not water down religion. That's why I call it multi-faith. This is like a salad bowl, not melting pot.
The people involved in the Multi-Faith Neighbors Network say this is not about syncretism, the blending of different doctrines, rather about starting a dialogue and building relationships with the goal of yielding real fruit, like the kind that was modeled here earlier this year at the Congregation Beth Israel, when the world witnessed a true sense of friendship and community when Christians, Muslims, and Jews came together. John Jessup, CBN News, Tarrant County, Texas.
Well, you may think that they're dreamers and that it's an impossible dream for the three faiths to come together. Definitely with today's report from the Temple Mount, here you had Easter, the Holy Week, you had Passover, and you had Ramadan all coming together. And what happened? Well, there was an outbreak of violence at the very place that God had designated as a place of prayer. So you look at this and say, how can you have peace? Well, I've seen it. You look at Lebanon in the 1950s, the 1960s. I visited Lebanon in 1969, and they achieved it. They had a government where they shared power between Christians and Muslims and Jews. Beirut was known as the jewel of the Mediterranean. It was an example to everyone of how the three faiths can live together and share a common heritage and share a common land. And then ideology broke through. Lebanon said, we know how to get along with everybody. We're going to have the PLO come in. And the PLO came in, and Lebanon was never the same again. And you've seen civil war and violence against Israel ever since. Ideology really matters. What people in leadership are telling their followers really does matter. The incitement to violence that is now generational and indoctrination that you should kill Jews and you should hate Jews. These things really matter. We have to change the ideology, and we have to come together. I applaud this effort for making a first step, for believing that people actually can live together in peace. What a wonderful thing to achieve, and what a wonderful thing to pray for. So let's obey that commandment and pray for the peace of Jerusalem, because Jerusalem needs peace today. Terry?
I am woman, hear me roar. It was a rallying cry of feminists in the 70s. Today, sister roar means something different altogether. It refers to a woman's ability to express herself fully and rightly as intended by God. And in the fallout since the pandemic, it's needed now more than ever.
Kay and Lisa Robertson are part of the well-known Duck Dynasty clan. Kay is the matriarch and wife of Phil, while Lisa is married to their oldest son, Alan. Kay and Lisa firmly believe that women need the community of other women to grow into all they were intended to be by God. In their new book, Sister Roar, the Robertsons guide their sisters in faith to find their true voices and greatest fulfillment in Christ.
Please welcome back to the 700 Club, Kay and Lisa Robertson. Ladies, it's wonderful to have you with us today.
Good morning. It's great to be with you. Thank you for having us.
Well, Kay, you feel that women need to find their roar now more than ever. What do you mean by that? And how is what you're talking about different from the feminism of the 70s?
Because we want women to understand about God and about loving each other and relationships that'll last through eternity. I mean, we need to really band together and not let petty things and just like that. We have we're fighting a war against Satan, and we need to stick together. We need to love each other, love our families, and do all we can do to spread the gospel of Jesus. But all along, they need to see real love for each other. And, right now, my family with my daughter-in-laws, and Lisa especially, I mean, things started off a little hard with Lisa, but we're the best of friends. And even with my other daughter-in-laws, we don't fuss. We don't get mad at each other. We have no arguments or no differences. And I tell you, I may be one of the few mother-in-laws that I don't always think my sons are right. I think many times my daughter-in-laws are right, and I let my sons know that. And they said, Mom, you're supposed to be for us. I said, no, I'm for what's right.
Amen. Well, Lisa, tell us what happens, what you feel happens when women come together in community and are truly transparent with each other.
Well, I believe we get to grow together. Titus 2 teaches us that the older women are to instruct the younger women, in how to love their husbands, how to be a good mother, how to keep your home, how to make all of those things in your life. If you have a career, all of those things. Titus 2 just teaches us that we've got to help one another to achieve that. And whenever we are together, whether it be, women's ministry could be larger groups, it could be smaller groups, or as Kay calls it, she calls them micro groups, or it could be one-on-one.
But whenever we are together, we are stronger together.
At one time, you just alluded to this, Kay, at one time, the two of you weren't as close as you have become now. Why was that? And then tell us how you changed that.
Well, I believe it was because Alan had, like more of my boys, had had their time where they were kind of a prodigal son. At least each, there was really two of them, and it only lasted about 2 years, but it's enough to put gray hair in my head. But and the thing about it is, I was hoping so much for Lisa. I mean, when Alan was getting serious about girlfriends and all that, and I knew that Lisa had a background too, kind of like Alan had. I mean, many families have the prodigal son, the prodigal daughter, and you have to read the Bible and hold to that and know, what happened in the end. And sometimes that's so hard for us as mothers to do. Another thing that I was going to do no matter what, and it's like Alan being the oldest son and actually helped me so much in the younger years, till I feel like I wouldn't be who I am today if I hadn't had Alan to help me. When Phil was off being the prodigal son, I mean, he was off for 10 years off the God track. He was letting Satan take a hold of him. But we made it through it, and I believe without Alan, I couldn't. And I think that's what was so hard for me, that knowing Lisa had the background, and yet when Alan told me, he said, "Mama, I was the same way, and she's the same way. She's coming to Christ," and that's what we have to learn is our forgiveness, which, having your own son teaching you about forgiveness is a very humbling thing. So anyway, it was the best move he ever made, and us being together is the best move because we're like best friends now.
It's wonderful to see, and it's powerful. Kay, speaking of powerful, there's a powerful story in your book from Phyllis. Tell us who she is and how she changed your family's life.
Oh, yes. Well, see, all along when Phil had that 10-year run with Satan, I had prepared my boys and told them one day, and I always thought it would be a boy because it looked like all Phil could produce was boys. And I said, there may be a strange boy come to our house, and he's going to say your daddy is his daddy. And of course, my kids had a fit and said, no, they're not. There's not another one of us. And I said, there could be. I want you to understand it now. Your daddy was not with Jesus. And he did what the devil wanted him to do. And there very well could be a brother to y'all. And I want you to know that and not be upset when it happens, because we will welcome him in and we will love him. Now, when we discovered that Phil did have a prodigal out there, but it wasn't a boy, it was a lady. A girl. And we were like, what? And then I looked at Phil and I said, okay, now I'm not going to be mad about this because I forgave you all along. I said, but actually you gave somebody else a girl, and I wanted a girl so bad. And you gave me those 4 boys to keep up with, which just about run me up and down, And but we love Phyllis. She lives right beside us. We provide her house up on the hill. We go down the hill, and there we are. And so we see each other daily, and she's a nurse, and she works, and her husband's an artist. But we have a great relationship, and with her children also. She has 2 in Missouri and 2 here. But it was different, I'll tell you that.
Well, one of the things I think that everybody sees in your family, and it makes you so endearing to all of us, is your candor, not just with us, but with each other. And we see how you make all that honesty come together and work. And, there is something special that women have with each other. I want to mention your book. Kay and Lisa's book is called Sister Roar. It's available wherever books are sold. And the subtitle is Claim Your Authentic Voice, Embrace Real Freedom, and Discover True Sisterhood. It works for the Robertsons. It'll work for you, too. Get a hold of the book. Thank you, ladies. Great to have you with us today.
Thank you so much, Sherry.
And welcome back to the 700 Club for this CBN News break. Recording artist Michael W. Smith is responding to the tragedy in Ukraine with an inspirational single called Cry for Hope. In a statement, Smith said, quote, "After watching the news of the devastation, I was in tears. Then over the next few days, this melody just kept coming back to me and just spoke a message that no words could convey." Smith says the instrumental song was given to Ukrainian troops and the response was overwhelming. A portion of the proceeds from the single will go to aid for Ukraine. After 2-year hiatus, the White House Easter egg roll returned. The president and First Lady taking their first crack at the tradition Monday. Dr. Jill Biden, who is a teacher, picked this year's theme, Egg-ucation. The White House transformed the South Lawn into a community school. More than 30,000 visitors taking part in egg races, hunts, and decorating. Per tradition, the main draw is the egg hunt and egg roll. Children using wooden spoons to roll colorful eggs across the South Lawn. Want to remind you, you can always get the latest news by checking out cbnnews.com.
Nine months is a long time for military couples to be separated, especially when trouble hits home. And that's what happened to Keith and Grecian during his recent deployment. Grecian's SUV broke down, and she didn't have the money to fix it.
Alaska's magnificent landscape is the backdrop for Elmendorf Richardson Joint Military Base in Anchorage. Veteran communications specialist Keith and his family enjoy the picturesque scenery. They're making up for lost time because just prior to leaving the Army, Keith returned from a 9-month deployment. Grecian is a seasoned pro at taking care of the household while he's gone.
I just had to do what I had to do because it had to be done. He's got the soldiers that he's responsible for, where he's got to be worried over them and then worried over his house. So if I'm helping to do the things at home, it's taking the stress off of him so he can do what he's supposed to be doing, which is fulfilling his duty.
Despite whatever challenge she's faced, and she'll definitely find a way to make things happen and make sure our family's taken care of.
Grecian faced such a challenge during his final deployment. With another harsh Alaskan winter approaching, their 4-wheel drive needed major repairs, but they had no money in the budget to fix it.
It was very stressful trying to figure out what the next move was going to be because at the time, that was the only transportation I had.
That's when New Season Christian contacted Helping the Homefront and asked if we could help. CBN arranged for Alaska Sales and Service to fix the SUV. A few months later, Keith returned from deployment.
Hearing that God had done this for us and CBN did this for us, you know, while I was deployed, took a whole lot of stress off of me during that deployment.
But Keith and Grecian's financial headache wasn't over. Now that Keith was out of the Army, the couple was not eligible for free base housing. They had to start paying rent, but Keith wouldn't start his new job for several months. Plus, a new school year was about to start, and their daughter needed school supplies and clothes. The couple relied on their faith in God that things would be okay.
God's got to work it out somehow. Something's got to come through to get the finances. It may not work out the way we want it to, but it's going to work out.
Pastor Tommy Leonard told them CBN would pay for their rent for 3 months to tide them over until Keith started his new job.
Wow, that's amazing.
We also want to help with getting school gear and getting her prepared for school.
Well, thank you.
We're going to do that today.
Then it was time to go shopping for school supplies and clothes. The family was able to await the start of Keith's new job without financial worry.
Helping the Homefront is helping the Homefront, and I'm very grateful for what they have done for us. It's such a relief, it's such a blessing.
That gratitude goes to you if you're a member of the 700 Club. I love to tell people we're a lot more than a TV show. We're helping people around the world. We're also helping people right here at home. If you want to be a part of it, it's real simple. Join the 700 Club, and you're joining tens of thousands of people that want to make a difference, that want to see people helped in very tangible ways, not a handout, but a hand up to say, we're with you, we support you, We want to see you through your time of difficulty so you can rejoice and you can give thanks to God. If that's you, if you want to join, call us, 1-800-700-7000. If you're already a member, consider increasing. We have a lot of club levels. You can join at $20 a month, 700 Club Gold at $40 a month, 1,000 Club, $1,000 a year. That's $84 a month. At whatever level, when you call and join, I've got something for you. It's my father's latest book, The Power of the Holy Spirit in You, Understanding the Miraculous Power of God. It's full of insight of 60 years of ministry, asking the Holy Spirit for guidance, for direction, how to run CBN, how to run Operation Blessing, how to run Regent University. All of this put into this one book, The Power of the Holy Spirit in You. I want you to have it. It's yours when you join. Call us, 1-800-700-7000. A sex slave. That's what Jessa was raised to be by her own parents. They told her she was too stupid to be anything but a prostitute. This abuse went on for years until a lightning bolt helped Jessa to find a way out.
My earliest memory that I have was being shown pornography of me as a toddler, then also to being taken to different brothels, childhood sexual abuse, having buyers, people who exchanged money to have time with my body, individuals coming to my home, into my house to use me.
For as long as she could remember, Jessa Dillow Crisp lived as a prisoner, trafficked and abused by the very people who were supposed to protect her, her parents.
You're too stupid to do anything but be a prostitute, and that's why you can't go to school. And so that really hit me as, okay, this is the reason why God created me.
As members of a religious cult, her parents didn't allow Jessa or her 10 brothers and sisters to go to school, teaching that God created women to please and submit to men. Failing would bring swift consequences.
I was taught that God was an angry person. I was afraid to get to know him. I was scared of him in the sense of, if I don't do everything perfect, if I am not perfect, then I'm not going to be okay. I'm not going to be able to get through this and to live.
Yet somehow, Jessa knew there was something better.
I remember standing in my bedroom window and looking out across the backyard and seeing kids walking to school, and like, what is that like? What is it like to be able to go play and kick a ball around? I still knew that there was something dark and evil, and that there was something light and something good.
As a teenager, Jessa dreamed of escape and tried several times to run away.
I tried to mentally escape when I could, and that was hard. I had a lot of daydreams that, like, someday I'd be rescued, or someday that I would be able to live with freedom.
She also began cutting and entertained thoughts of suicide for years. Then in 2007, at age 20, Jessa was handpicked by the cult's leader to attend a remote camp for girls. She felt anything but special.
I felt like I was worthless. I didn't want to live. I hated who I was. I hated the fact that I was a woman. I hated the fact that I had even been born. And I was a complete wreck. And I was in this dark place of like trying to figure out how to kill myself. I literally could not do this anymore.
One afternoon, while out for a walk, Jessa was planning her suicide when
the sky came completely black. The loudest thunder that I've ever heard in my life took place right over my head, and out of the heavens came this big, huge lightning bolt that like touched the ground so close to where I was standing. And in that moment, like, I just started to call out, like, Jesus, if you're real, save me, save me. Out of the heavens, I heard an audible voice saying, the enemy has not won. I have claimed the victory. Because I knew without a shadow of a doubt that that wasn't this God that I had been taught, but rather a God who cared about me, and a God who saw all of that dark evil that took place in my life, all of the trauma, that he saw it all, and that he was the light. And that was so profound. I also learned in that moment that as a woman, God can talk to me and that I can communicate with him and that I don't have to go through these men. I don't have to go through a cult leader.
Afterwards, Jessa was convinced that God not only had the power to help her, he wanted to. She began reading the Bible to learn more about God.
I felt this little whisper inside, and it was like, I've forgiven you. I have forgiven you. And it was in that moment that I was like, okay, God, I accept your forgiveness and I want to know you.
Still, when she came home days later, Jessa remained a prisoner. Then, a year later, she was at a Kansas City hotel when a woman slipped her a phone number. She knew the signs of someone being trafficked. Eventually, Jessa got up the nerve to call, and the woman helped her buy a plane ticket to Denver, Colorado. She immediately drove her to a safe house, where Jessa began working through her anger, her pain, and discovering the truth about God.
I started to find that he was completely opposite of the God that I have been taught. He cries with me, he cares for me, he loves me in that tender, intimate way. And then realizing, like, he created me, and he didn't create me to have sex. He created me to just be me, and he created me to worship him.
While there, Jessa was taken in and adopted by Jody and Linda Dillow. She went on to earn her GED, graduate college at the top of her class, and get her master's in clinical mental health counseling. During that time, she also met and married her husband, John. Together, they founded Bridge Hope, a nonprofit to help victims of sex trafficking. Jessa says her life is now filled with all the promise she ever hoped for.
No matter what one has experienced, there is hope. Now, I live life with freedom. I have so much hope. I have so much joy. I have a reason to live. I have a purpose. I have the ability to experience emotions and experience a God who loves me, and it's changed my life completely.
You can have that same experience. You can experience a God who loves you. He wants to give you that. He wants to give you the experience. We call it the rebirth, being born again. In the original Greek, it can be translated regenerate, where you're regenerated from your innermost being to understand what you were made for. The wonderful news that we're made in the image of God. He made us to be like him, to be creative, to be joyful, to be full of love, to live life to the fullest. Jesus came that we might have life and have it more abundantly. That new life that comes when your eyes are open, your ears are open, your heart of understanding is open, and you can communicate directly with him. That rebirth says, Jesus said it in this context, unless you are born again, you cannot see the kingdom of God. Now, that sounds like a lot of religious words, but when you break it down, unless you're regenerated, you cannot see the dominion of God or the place of God or where God dwells. But when you are, you can understand that in him we live and move and have our being, that he can be right there within you. And just like Jess, you can understand that he's with you in all your tears. He was with you in all your suffering. He is touched by that. That's what the Bible says. He is touched by it. And when you understand all of that, boy, you come into a new realization of who God is, his heart for you, his heart for other people, what you were intended to do, intended to be. This is good news. This is the best news anyone's ever heard. And to receive this good news, all you have to do is change your thinking. God's not angry with you. God's not trying to condemn you to an eternity without him. He wants you. He wants you. to be with him for all eternity. He'll leave everything behind in order to go pursue you. You're that valuable to him. You are worth the price that he paid. Now, how do you get this? For Jess, she was contemplating suicide, and then the storm comes up, a lightning bolt hits, and she hears an audible voice saying, "The enemy has not won. I have claimed the victory." Well, that may not exactly happen to you, but her prayer following that, "Jesus, if you're real, could you show me?" You can pray that. And in that, that's when she got the realization. That's when she got the realization that this isn't thunder. This isn't the lightning bolt. This isn't the audible voice. This is that still small voice within me, tenderly letting me know that he came for me. If you want this, pray that same prayer, and let's do that right now. If you pray it with all your heart, he'll answer. He'll come to you if you just ask. Let's pray. Jesus, say his name, say it out loud. Jesus, I come to you, and I want to know that you're real. I want to know that you came for me. Come into my heart. Give me eyes to see, ears to hear, and a heart to understand. Regenerate me from my innermost being so that I can see you and hear your voice. Do this for me, for I ask it in Jesus' name. Amen. If you prayed with me, there's one more thing I want you to do. Call us and let us know. 1-800-700-7000. Here's a word from Colossians. For he has rescued us from the dominion of darkness and brought us into the kingdom of his Son he loves.